The wind cut sharp across the quiet street that evening, carrying with it the smell of rain, soaked asphalt. Daniel adjusted the grocery bags in his hands while his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, skipped along beside him, her little boots splashing in the puddles. Life had never been easy since his wife passed away, but he had learned to find joy in Lily's laughter, even in the hardest times. As they neared their modest home, Lily tugged at his sleeve. "Daddy, look," she whispered, pointing. On the curb, beneath the dim glow of a street lamp, sat a young woman. She couldn't have been older than 20. Her long hair clung to her damp cheeks, and her small backpack lay at her feet. She wiped her eyes with trembling hands, trying to hide her tears as people passed her by. Something in her posture, the way her shoulders curled inward like she was trying to disappear, broke Daniel's heart. He had been there once, lost, unsure, drowning in loneliness. "Daddy, she looks so sad," Lily said again, her voice filled with innocent concern. "Can we help her?" Daniel hesitated. His house wasn't big, and money was always tight. Bringing home a stranger was a risk he couldn't afford. But then he looked at Lily's wide, hopeful eyes, and he knew his answer before he even spoke. He walked closer and crouched down to the girl's level. "Hey," he said gently, "are you okay? Do you need help?" The girl looked up startled. Her eyes were red from crying. I'm fine," she whispered, her voice betraying the truth. "I just need a place to stay for the night, but I don't have any money." Daniel's heart clenched. She reminded him of someone standing at the edge of a storm with nowhere to run. "Listen," he said carefully. "I don't have much, but I've got a spare room. You're welcome to stay for the night if you'd like." The girl blinked in disbelief. "I couldn't. I don't want to be a burden." Before Daniel could respond, Lily ran ahead, grinning. "You can stay with us. I'll make the bed super cozy." For the first time that night, the girl let out a small, broken laugh, and just like that, her walls began to crumble. Inside the little house, the air smelled of home, warmth, wood, and the faint sweetness of Lily's crayons scattered on the table. The girl introduced herself as Sophie. Her voice was soft, polite, but it carried an edge of exhaustion that Daniel recognized all too well. "You can take the guest room," Daniel said, pointing down the hallway. "It's nothing fancy, but it's dry and warm." Sophie hesitated at the doorway, clutching her backpack like a lifeline. She looked around as though the simple comfort of the house was too much to accept. "Why are you doing this?" she asked quietly. Daniel shrugged. "Because I know what it feels like to need help, and because my daughter wouldn't forgive me if I didn't." Lily appeared, holding a blanket almost as big as she was. "See, this one is my favorite. It's super soft. You'll love it." Sophie's eyes shimmered as she accepted the blanket. She muttered a thank you, her voice cracking slightly, and disappeared into the small room. Later that night, as Daniel tucked Lily into bed, she whispered, "Daddy." She smiled a little. "Do you think she'll be okay?" Daniel kissed her forehead. "I think tonight she'll be okay, and sometimes one night is enough to start again." The next evening, Sophie joined them for dinner. The table was simple, a pot of stew, slices of bread, and a jug of water. Yet the atmosphere felt warmer than any feast in a grand dining hall. At first, Sophie barely touched her food, staring at the steam rising from her bowl. Then, slowly, words began to tumble out. "I left home a while ago," she said softly. "I thought I could trust people, but all they cared about was what I had, not who I was. I wanted to see the world through real eyes, to know if kindness was real or if it was just another illusion." Daniel listened carefully, nodding. He didn't press her for details, but her words told him enough. She wasn't just running from something. She was searching. He shared his story, too, about how he lost his wife to an illness, how raising Lily alone had been both the hardest and most rewarding journey of his life, how sometimes he felt like he was failing, but Lily's laughter always reminded him why he kept going. Sophie's eyes softened. "You're stronger than you think, Daniel. Most people wouldn't open their home to a stranger, but you did." He smiled faintly. "Sometimes kindness doesn't cost anything, and sometimes it's the only thing we can afford." For the first time, Sophie ate until her bowl was empty. The next morning, Sophie left early. She thanked Daniel and Lily at the door, her backpack slung over her shoulder, her smile fragile but genuine. "You gave me more than a room," she whispered. "You gave me hope. I'll never forget this." Daniel watched her walk down the street, not knowing if he'd ever see her again. A week later, a knock echoed at his door. When Daniel opened it, no one was there, only a sealed envelope on the step. Inside was a handwritten note. Daniel and Lily, you reminded me that true kindness still exists. You opened your home when I had nothing to give. I'm not who I seemed. I'm Sophie Bennett, heiress to the Bennett fortune. I walked away from it all, searching for people who see me as a person, not a bank account, and I found you. Please accept this gift as a small token of my gratitude. Daniel's hands trembled as he unfolded the check inside. The amount was staggering, more than he had ever dreamed of. His knees nearly buckled. Lily peeked at the paper. Daddy, is that a lot? Daniel choked on his words. More than we'll ever need. At first, Daniel didn't know what to do with the money, but after long nights of thought, he made a choice. He paid off their small debts, secured Lily's future with a college fund, and used the rest to help others in their community. Families struggling just like Sophie had once looked. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Lily sat on the porch, her head resting on her father's arm. Daddy, she said softly, remember when I asked if Sophie would be okay? Daniel smiled. Yes, I remember. She made sure we're okay too. He hugged her tightly, his eyes misty with gratitude. That's the thing about kindness, sweetheart. It always finds its way back. The little house, once filled with struggle, now brimmed with hope and possibility. And though Sophie was gone, her presence lingered in every act of compassion Daniel and Lily shared with others. The story of a single dad, a little girl, and a crying stranger on the curb became proof that even the smallest act of kindness can change lives forever. In the end, what began as a simple act of kindness, a single dad opening his home to a crying stranger, became a story that changed lives forever. Daniel thought he was giving Sophie nothing more than a roof and a warm meal, but in truth, he gave her something priceless, faith in humanity. And in return, Sophie reminded Daniel and Lily that compassion never comes back empty, it multiplies, touching lives far beyond what we can see. This story isn't just about a millionaire or a struggling father. It's about the universal truth that kindness costs nothing but has the power to transform everything. When we choose to care, to open our hearts, we plant seeds of hope that grow in ways we may never expect. So let this be a reminder, no act of love is ever wasted, because in a world that can often feel cold, it is compassion that keeps the light alive.